Hello everyone and welcome to the video today, and Bioware have dropped a brand new blog community post talking about the development changes coming to the studio that directly impact both Dragon Age Dreadwolf as well as the next Mass Effect game. So let's talk about it.
Lockhart QT.
Yesterday, Bioware dropped a new community update focusing on job roles and changes internally within Bioware, and I'm not going to lie, this information is a bit concerning from an outside level, talking about Dragon Age and both Mass Effect and how they've had to make changes internally. So I'm not going to read out the entire community blog post, but if you want to check it out yourself, I will be summarising the key points here for you now, but the link to the actual post will be in the description and on screen now. I do apologise that I haven't got round to this sooner. I was ill yesterday when this actually came out, so I couldn't cover it straight away, but without enough waffling, let's get straight into it. So the update by General Manager Gary McKay, who you've probably heard of if you've been following Bioware, reads as follows. Today, rather than discuss one of our upcoming projects, I'd like to share an update about the studio itself and outline our vision for Bioware's future. The post then goes on to state that Bioware are now sadly eliminating approximately 50 roles within the studio, and that they are going to do everything they can at Bioware to ensure the process is handled with empathy, respect, and clear communication for the affected parties. In the blog post, the reasoning Gary gave for this was that in order to meet the needs of their upcoming projects, being obviously Dreadwolf and Mass Effect 4, Mass Effect 5, whatever it's called, they continue to hold themselves to the highest standard of quality, which is the quote-unquote Bioware magic that they've implemented in every game. That is their internal philosophy as a studio, and I'll talk about that later, and to ensure that Bioware can continue to thrive an industry that's rapidly evolving, they are now shifting towards a more agile and more focused studio. Now straight away, alarm bells are going off here for me, as you'd think that this is disastrous news for both Dragon Age and Mass Effect, but it's potentially not, and I'll touch on that in a second, as Dragon Age Dreadwolf is supposedly, again this hasn't been confirmed by Bioware, but you know, a lot of leaks and things like that and inside sources have said that Bioware are targeting a summer/fall 2024 release date for Dragon Age Dreadwolf, and then obviously Mass Effect 4, or whatever it's called, the next Mass Effect, is still in pre-production, meaning that it's still early days. Behind the scenes, again, take this next bit with a pinch of salt, as it's not been confirmed, but it pretty much has been. It's a weird one, but Dragon Age Dreadwolf's development has apparently not been going so smoothly. It's actually been in development for quite a while, and being in sort of a development hell, as people call it nowadays. So hopefully these changes that Bioware have made internally at the studio are being made for the betterment of both Dragon Age and Mass Effect's development going forward. Hopefully the studio can avoid things like crunch and things coming out where employees are doing, you know, like 24-hour work days where they're basically sleeping in the studio. Hopefully they can afford that. Hopefully their employees and developers internally are being paid fairly and getting overtime and things like that. But hopefully the studio is going to be okay, and obviously hopefully the final releases are going to be okay as well. The silver lining for all of this is that the affected employees in question are apparently being offered other job role opportunities and job roles at other studios inside of EA. So obviously, you know, like developers working on Star Wars, Apex Legends at Respawn, DICE and other studios like that. Personally, on like a personal level, my heart goes out to anyone affected inside of Bioware and EA, and I really do hope these people both find jobs elsewhere or within EA, and hopefully they find, you know, passion or jobs where they can actually hopefully progress in the industry and doing something that they love. Now, Gary then goes on to talk about the immediate impact on both Dragon Age and Mass Effect, and for Dragon Age he said the following: "If you're wondering how all of this will impact development on Dreadwolf, let me be clear that our dedication to the game has never wavered. Our commitment remains steadfast, and we are all working to make sure this game is worthy of the Dragon Age name," which I really hope it does, Gary, by the way. "We are confident that we'll have the time needed to ensure Dreadwolf reaches its full potential." So hopefully Bioware have seen the recent success of Baldur's Gate 3, which ironically 1 and 2 were developed internally by Bioware, obviously 3 wasn't, and people are actually, I don't know if you guys have played Baldur's Gate 3 or seen the reviews for it, it's getting 9s and 10s across the board, and it's being considered the Tears of the Kingdom killer for Game of the Year. Baldur's Gate 3 by many is being considered the best game of the year, and the year's not even finished yet. And hopefully they can let both Dragon Age and Mass Effect cook a bit more in the oven, because obviously they've seen the recent success of Baldur's Gate 3, and hopefully BioWare look at that and go, oh, maybe if we, let our games cook a bit more, they'll be better. Gary then all ensured us that the departing developers will be credited in the next games as well, which is awesome, because I think it's one thing, if you've worked on a project, you want to see your name on it, whether you're at the studio or not, so cheers for BioWare for doing that. But next up is the future, and this is where things get a bit interesting, and Gary actually briefly mentions Mass Effect here. So this is the quote entirely. While this is an extremely difficult day for everyone at BioWare, we are making changes now to build a brighter future. We're excited for all of you to see what we've been building with Dreadwolf. A core veteran team led by Mike Gamble continues their pre-production work on the next Mass Effect. Again, just reconfirming that the game is still in pre-production, sadly. It's probably still got a ways to go. If I'm going to be leveling with you guys now, I really think that it's going to be 2026, 2027, potentially 2028 until we see Mass Effect. And then he goes on to say, our commitment to quality continues to be our North Star. As cliche as this sounds, there truly is never a good time to enact changes like this, but we trust that we have the right leaders and team in place with vision, passion and proven track records to deliver world-class Dragon Age and Mass Effect experiences that our fans will love. Now, personally, obviously, I'm not really sort of old enough to be saying this, but my previous job, I was a manager, and we did have to let people go to make changes internally for the betterment of the team, and ultimately those changes were positive. But at the same time, again, we're human beings. If you let a human being go, again, it could be it could be something where they land on their feet and get something else, or it could be disastrous. At the end of the day, we have to pay rent and other things, and at the end of the day, it might just be somebody like that was their dream job to work at BioWare, and they're no longer working at BioWare. So again, my heart goes out to anyone affected by this. But lastly, with all this said and done, it sounds like BioWare have made lots of changes internally to ensure that both Dreadwolf and Mass Effect are amazing releases. Personally, I'm still incredibly worried that we haven't seen both games yet fully, and we've barely seen both games, to be honest. BioWare also recently moved all of their Star Wars devs working on the MMORPG series back onto Dragon Age and Mass Effect, sort of split 50-50. Again, some of these people may have been affected, they haven't been named for obvious reasons, but I did a video on this topic right here. I'll put it on screen in the description below if you guys want to go check that out. But with all these internal development changes, so obviously them switching to a more agile focused development stance, as well as obviously changing the development team on Star Wars and moving that over to Dragon Age and Mass Effect, it seems like BioWare are basically putting all of their chips in the Dragon Age and Mass Effect pot, which is exactly, in my opinion, what they should be doing, because whether you like it or not, whether you're a BioWare fan or not, Mass Effect more so, but Mass Effect and Dragon Age are BioWare's bread and butter. Without these franchises, BioWare would not be here today in the position that they are today. And obviously with the recent failures, as I'll call them, in Andromeda and Anthem, BioWare need a win. Dragon Age and Mass Effect cannot come out subpar. They cannot come out, oh, they were okay, like 6 out of 10, like, yeah, it was playable. They can't be like that. Dragon Age and Mass Effect are already at an extremely high bar in the casual audience as well as the hardcore audience, but that, and obviously they've got this internal studio mantra of it has to have the BioWare magic, and again, these game series, for me especially with Mass Effect, mean so much to so many people, and I think because of what's happened with various other projects failing at BioWare, these are for many people the last chances. If Dragon Age and Mass Effect fail, I can really see it being the end of BioWare. I really can, which is really shocking to say. If Dreadwolf and the next Mass Effect game, God forbid, touch wood, come out really badly, then it could be catastrophic for the studio. So I think they've realised that they need to both let these games cook for a bit, give it time in the oven, and then release them in a state that obviously both we as fans deserve, as well as the series deserves themselves. In my opinion, both Dragon Age and Mass Effect are two of the best gaming series of all time. I think they should come out in an amazing state. So hopefully BioWare get this done and get it over the line, and hopefully, like I said, I hope the developers affected are able to get a job and employment and income and everything, and I just hope they're all okay. So tell me in the comments below, do you think that these changes are going to be positive for BioWare, and are you worried for the development of both Dragon Age Dreadwolf and the next Mass Effect game? I do apologise again for sort of being a day late on this topic, as it did come out yesterday. As I said, I was extremely ill yesterday. I was basically in bed all day with the flu. It was really bad, and just thank you guys for being here, sticking around with it and being patient. So anyway guys, for more Dragon Age, Mass Effect and BioWare content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.